Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Coffee with Craig, where we talk about all things firearms, firearms policy, politics, culture, media, you name it. We're talking about it right here on Coffee with Craig. So please take a moment, like and share the program so that your friends can join in the conversation. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. In the case of YouTube and Facebook, make sure you hit that notification button. That way you'll be notified as soon as we go live, and you can participate in the live chat as the program is taking place. Also, please make it a point to visit fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. It is the place to go to get all of your Pro 2A swag. Tank tops, coffee mugs, hoodies, T-shirts, stuff for the home or the office. Whatever it is, you can find it at fpcgear.com. And the best part is every dollar that you spend goes right back into the fight for a right to keep and bear arms, so you can support the Second Amendment and you can look good doing it. That's fpcgear.com. All right, folks, none of us are any stranger to the situation that took place in St. Louis, Missouri. The McCloskeys, a couple who used firearms to defend their home. They've been charged with crimes. They've been charged with brandishing firearms. They've been charged with threatening and intimidating people with those firearms, and they've had their firearms confiscated. Well, there's a new wrinkle to the story, and this has to do with how both law enforcement and the prosecutors actually went about prosecuting the case in the days, the immediate days afterwards, and how there was basically a rush to make sure that, these individuals were charged, that it was done publicly, and that, basically it was an effort to make them look bad. And there's both emails and recordings, voicemail recordings, that have been released that show that. So check out this story real quick, and we'll talk about it a little bit on the other side.
And police butted heads over the controversial charges.
Through an anonymous source, I received this stack of papers, emails, text messages, even a voicemail exchanged in the days and weeks leading up to Mark and Patricia McCloskey being charged for what happened here at their Central West End home.
Now we need to straighten this out because I'm about done with this crap.
In a voicemail to police officer Curtis Bergdorf, Chief Warrant Officer and Assistant Circuit Attorney Chris Hinckley makes it clear he's frustrated.
Curtis, you need to call me back. I wrote a long email to you trying to ask you a bunch of questions about whatever it is you said. Some was bull.
Bergdorf is the lead investigator into what happened at one Portland place on June 28th. Since then, prosecutors charged Mark and Patricia McCloskey with exhibiting weapons, and 9 people have been issued citations for trespassing on private property. Emails were exchanged between Bergdorf and Hinckley the very day after the incident. By July, Hinckley was requesting additional follow-up work, including a search warrant to seize the McCloskeys' guns. On July 9th, he wrote in an email, "They are not going to want you guys rooting around their beautiful mansion, so I suspect they'll give them up." Mark McCloskey's rifle was taken by police from the home. The handgun Patricia McCloskey had was in attorney Al Watkins's possession and turned over in front of News 4's cameras. Hinckley wrote to Bergdorf, quote, "Why the F does Watkins have the handgun?" And also writing about Watkins, quote, "That guy is a slimeball by many accounts." Many of the exchanges, though, were cordial. At one time, Hinckley wrote, "Kurt, be careful. In general, our phones and Twitter started lighting up last night. Several credible threats on Kim," referencing Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner and saying he was passing the information about the threats to the FBI. But Hinckley got heated over the probable cause statement outlining the charges against the McCloskeys. Bergdorf created a list of 14 reservations about how Hinckley had written it, claiming they weren't factual, including the use of the term assault rifle, which Bergdorf said was a propaganda term. Hinckley responded, quote, "I'm more than willing to remove the term, but in alleging I'm using propaganda, you've crossed a line. If anything, your changes, conduct, and unexplainable edit in the PC strongly hint of bias or agenda."
I think the police did actually a very thorough job.
In court documents, the McCloskeys' defense attorney, Joel Schwartz, argues it's the prosecution that's biased.
In this particular case, a line was crossed and a line was blurred, and it created the appearance of impropriety, which is why I believe the Circuit Attorney's Office should not be the office handling this case.
He argues the prosecutor's office has a conflict of interest in part because of Hinckley's conduct and also because Kim Gardner's campaign referenced the case in fundraising efforts.
There's no doubt they were pushing it forward. There was an urgency, and the urgency was called a primary election in the city of St. Louis.
So to make a long story short, the reason why they were pushing for this, the reason why there was such a push to prosecution, quite frankly, just had to do with the fact that there was a primary election. And Kim Gardner, who's running for office, wanted to be able to utilize this case in order to push for her election. Now, I get it. It's election season and everything is fair season, but I just find it odd. I find it actually sad that individuals who are simply doing nothing more than defending their home and defending themselves and defending their home are now being used as a political pawn. A political pawn, but to be quite honest, by all sides. Because while you have her basically saying, well, Donald Trump is attacking me because I am upholding the law and I'm going after these individuals. Well, you also kind of had Donald Trump, kind of using them. I mean, think about it. These two, the McCloskeys actually spoke at the Republican National Convention. And the interesting thing was they started off by talking about what had happened to them, but then went off on a bunch of stuff that really had very little to do with, once again, their fundamental right to be able to defend themselves and defend their home and defend their property. The thing that worries me the most about this entire thing is that once again, a fundamental right is being used as a political ping pong ball. And one would think that members of both parties would want to stand up for the right of individuals to be able to defend themselves and defend their home. I mean, we're not even talking about out in public. We're literally talking about defending your home. And now it's being bantered about as a political football, as a political tool. Now, let's be clear. I think that there is one party that is closer to standing up for our rights and our right to keep and bear arms than is the other. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. If you don't know, then you're not really paying attention. So do me a favor, pay attention, take a look at it. But let's be real. Neither party is perfect on the Second Amendment. Both parties can be pointed to where they've been guilty of infringements or allowing infringements to either be put in place or to continue to exist in place. But ultimately, what we need to be very, very careful of is, and in this particular case, the issue is that there is literally a prosecution, a criminal prosecution that is moving forward, that has been put in place as a political campaign tool. And that is something that we must make it a point to stand up and stand against. That's something that we need to make it a point to call out. And in this case, the McCloskeys are basically, they're the victims. And trust me, if this thing is allowed to exist, if these folks are allowed to be convicted, I shudder to think what some of the other consequences are going to be of individuals who, once again, utilize a firearm in defense of themselves, in defense of their home, the sorts of stupid things that they're going to be charged with. And quite frankly, the worst part about it is once you get charged, even if you're not convicted, you still got to go get a lawyer. You still have to go to court. Your name is still dragged through the mud. None of that changes. And once again, these guys didn't shoot anybody. It's not like they're going to court for use of force. They literally, all they did was stand on their own property with their firearms and make it a point. Y'all aren't gonna loot or destroy our home. And yet they're being prosecuted. But hey, it's all for the campaign. Anyway, folks, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. I very much appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you liking and sharing the program, telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. Talk to you guys real soon.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.